Book of Numbers, chapter 8, the menorah. The Lord says to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and say, when you set up the menorah lamps, have the 7 lamps throw their light in front of the menorah." Aaron did so, setting up the menorah lamps to face the area in front of the menorah, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. This is the construction of the menorah: hammered gold from its base to its bowls. It was hammered according to the pattern which the Lord had shown Moses, so he made the menorah. Purification of Levites. The Lord said to Moses, "Take the Levites from among the Israelites and cleanse them. This is what you shall do to them to cleanse them. Sprinkle them with the water of purification. Have them shave their whole bodies and wash their garments, and so cleanse themselves. Then they shall take a bull from the herd, along with its grain offering of bran flour mixed with oil, and you shall take another bull from the herd for a purification offering. Bringing the Levites before the tent of meeting, you shall assemble also the whole community of the Israelites. When you have brought the Levites before the Lord, the Israelites shall lay their hands upon them. Aaron shall then present the Levites before the Lord as an elevated offering from the Israelites, that they may perform the service of the Lord. The Levites in turn shall lay their hands on the heads of the bulls, offering one as a purification offering and the other as a burnt offering to the Lord, to make atonement for the Levites. Then you shall have the Levites stand before Aaron and his sons, and you shall present them as an elevated offering to the Lord. Thus you shall separate the Levites from the rest of the Israelites, and the Levites shall belong to me. Only then shall the Levites enter upon their service in the tent of meeting, when you have cleansed them and presented them as an elevated offering, for they among the Israelites are totally dedicated to me. I have taken them for myself in place of everyone that opens the womb, the firstborn of all the Israelites. Indeed, all the firstborn among the Israelites, human being and beast alike, belong to me. I consecrated them to myself on the day I killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt. But I have taken the Levites in place of all the firstborn Israelites, and from among the Israelites I have given to Aaron and his sons these Levites, who are to be dedicated to perform the service of the Israelites to the tent of meeting and to make atonement for them, so that no plague may strike among the Israelites should they come too near the sanctuary. This then is what Moses and Aaron and the whole community of the Israelites did with respect to the Levites. The Israelites did exactly as the Lord had commanded Moses concerning them. When the Levites had purified themselves and washed their garments, Aaron presented them as an elevated offering before the Lord and made atonement for them to cleanse them. Only then did they enter upon their service of the tent of meeting under the supervision of Aaron and his sons. Exactly as the Lord had commanded Moses concerning the Levites, so it was done with regard to them. Age limits for Levitical service. The Lord said to Moses, "This is the rule for the Levites. Everyone 25 years old or more shall join the personnel in the service of the tent of meeting, but everyone 50 on up shall retire from the workforce and serve no more. They shall assist their fellow Levites in the tent of meeting in performing their duties, but they shall not do the work. This, then, is how you are to regulate the duties of the Levites." Numbers chapter 9. Second Passover. The Lord said to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the first month of the second year following their departure from the land of Egypt, "Tell the Israelites to celebrate the Passover at the prescribed time. In the evening twilight of the 14th day of this month you shall celebrate it at its prescribed time in accord with all its statutes and regulations." So Moses told the Israelites to celebrate the Passover, and they did celebrate the Passover on the 14th day of the first month during the evening twilight in the wilderness of Sinai. Just as the Lord had commanded Moses, so the Israelites did. There were some, however, who were unclean because of the human corpse, and so could not celebrate the Passover that day. These men came up to Moses and Aaron that same day, and they said to them, "Although we are unclean because of a human corpse, why should we be deprived of presenting the Lord's offering at its prescribed time along with other Israelites?" Moses answered them, "Wait so that I can learn what the Lord will command in your regard." The Lord then said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites, if any of you or of your descendants is unclean because of a human corpse, or is absent on a journey, you may still celebrate the Lord's Passover, but you shall celebrate it in the second month, on the 14th day of the month during the evening twilight, eating it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs, and not leaving any of it over till morning, nor breaking any of its bones, but observing all the statutes of the Passover. However, anyone who is clean and not put away on a journey, and yet fails to celebrate the Passover, shall be cut off from the people for not presenting the Lord's offering at the prescribed time. That person shall bear the consequences of this sin. If an alien who lives among you would celebrate the Lord's Passover, It shall be celebrated according to the statutes and regulations for the Passover. You shall have the same law for the resident alien as for the native of the land, the fiery cloud. On the day when the tabernacle was erected, the cloud covered the tabernacle, the tent of the covenant, but from evening until morning it took on the appearance of fire over the tabernacle. It was always so. During the day the cloud covered the tabernacle, and at night it had the appearance of fire. Whenever the cloud rose from the tent, the Israelites would break camp. Wherever the cloud settled, the Israelites would pitch camp. At that direction of the Lord, the Israelites broke camp, and at the Lord's direction, they pitched camp. As long as the cloud stayed over the tabernacle, they remained in camp. Even when the cloud lingered many days over the tabernacle, the Israelites kept the charge of the Lord and would not move on. Yet if it happened the cloud was over the tabernacle only for a few days, at the direction of the Lord they stayed in camp, and at the Lord's direction they broke camp. If it happened the cloud remained there only from evening until morning, when the cloud rose in the morning they would break camp. Whether the cloud lifted during the day or the night, they would then break camp. Whether the cloud lingered over the tabernacle for 2 days or for a month or longer, the Israelites remained in camp and did not break camp. But when it lifted, they broke camp. At the direction of the Lord they pitched camp, and at the Lord's direction they broke camp. They kept the charge of the Lord as the Lord directed them through Moses. Numbers chapter 10. The silver trumpets. The Lord said to Moses, "Make 2 trumpets of silver, making them of hammered silver, for you to use in summoning the community and in breaking camp. When both are blown, the whole community shall gather round you at the entrance of the tent of meeting. But when one of them is blown, only the tribal leaders, the heads of the clans of Israel, shall gather round you. When you sound the signal, those encamped on the east side shall break camp. When you sound a second signal, those encamped on the south side shall break camp. When you sound a third signal, those encamped on the west side shall break camp. When you sound a fourth signal, those encamped on the north side shall break camp. Thus shall the signal be sounded for them to break camp. But in calling forth an assembly, you are to blow a blast without sounding the signal. The sons of Aaron the priests shall blow the trumpets. This is prescribed forever for you and your descendants when in your own land you go to war against an enemy that is attacking you. You shall sound the alarm on the trumpets, and you shall be remembered before the Lord your God and be saved from your foes. And when you rejoice on your festivals and your new moon feasts, you shall blow the trumpets over your burnt offerings and your communion sacrifices, so that this serves as a reminder of you before your God. I, the Lord, am your God." 2. Departure, rebellion, and wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. Departure from Sinai. In the 2nd year, on the 20th day of the 2nd month, the cloud rose from the tabernacle of the covenant, and the Israelites moved on from the wilderness of Sinai by stages until the cloud came to rest in the wilderness of Paran. The first time that they broke camp at the direction of the Lord through Moses, the divisional camps of the Judahites, arranged in companies, was the first to set out. Over its whole company was Nahshon, son of Amminadab, with Nathaniel, son of Zuar. Over the company of the tribe of the Issacharites, and Eliab, son of Helon, over the company of the tribe of the Zebulunites. Then, after the tabernacle was dismantled, the Gershonites and the Merarites, who carried the tabernacle, set out. The divisional camp of the Reubenites, arranged in companies, was the next to set out. Over its whole company was Eleazar, son of Shadur, with Shelumiel, son of Zurishaddai. Over the company of the tribe of the Simeonites, and Eliasaph, son of Reuel, over the company of the tribe of the Gadites. The Kohathites, who carried the sacred objects, then set out before their arrival. The tabernacle would be erected. The divisional camp of the Ephraimites set out next, arranged in companies. Over its whole community was Elishama, son of Ammihud, with Gamaliel, and son of Pedazur. Over the company of the tribe of the Manassites, and Abidan, son of Gideoni. Over the company of the tribe of the Benjamites. Finally, as rear guard for all the camps, the divisional camp of the Danites set out, arranged in companies. Over its whole company was Ahiezer, son of Ammishaddai, with Pagiel, son of Ochran. Over the company of the tribe of the Asherites, and Ahira, son of Enan. Over the company of the tribe of the Naphtalites. This was the order of march for the Israelites, company by company, when they set out. Hobab as guide. Moses said to Hobab, son of Reuel the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law, "We are setting out for the place concerning which the Lord has said, I will give it to you. Come with us, and we will be generous toward you. For the Lord has promised prosperity to Israel." But he answered, "Nora will not come. I am going instead to the land of my birth," Moses said. Please do not leave us. You know where we can camp in the wilderness, and you can serve as our guide. If you come with us, we shall share with you the prosperity the Lord will bestow on us." Into the wilderness from the mountain of the Lord they made a journey of 3 days, and the ark of the covenant of the Lord went before them for the 3-day journey to seek out a resting place for them, and the cloud of the Lord was over them by day when they set out from camp. Whenever the ark set out, Moses would say, "Arise, O Lord, may your enemies be scattered, and may those who hate you flee before you." And when it came to rest, he would say, "Bring back, O Lord, the myriads of Israel's troops." Chapter 11, Numbers. Discontent of the people. Now the people complained bitterly in the hearing of the Lord, and when he heard it, his wrath flared up, so that the Lord's fire burned among them and consumed the outskirts of the camp. But when the people cried out to Moses, he prayed to the Lord, and the fire died out. Hence that place was called Taberah, because there the fire of the Lord burned among them. The riffraff among them were so greedy for meat that even the Israelites lamented again, "If only we had meat for food." We remember the fish we used to eat without cost in Egypt, and the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now we are famished. We have nothing to look forward to but this manna. Manna was like coriander seed and had the appearance of bejulum. When they had gone about and gathered it up, the people would grind it between millstones or pound it into mortar, then cook it in a pot and make it into loaves with a rich, creamy taste. At night, when the dew fell upon the camp and the manna also fell, when Moses heard the people, family after family, crying at the entrance of their tents, so that the Lord became very angry, he was grieved. "And do you treat your servant so badly?" Moses asked the Lord. "Why are you so displeased with me, that you burden me with all this people? Was it I who conceived all this people, or was it I who gave them birth, that you tell me to carry them at my breast, like a nurse carrying an infant, to the land you have promised under oath to their fathers? When can I get the meat to give all this people? For they are crying to me, 'Give us meat for our food.' I cannot carry all this people by myself, for they are too heavy for me. If this is the way you deal with me, then please do me the favor of killing me at once, so that I need no longer face my distress." The 70 elders. The Lord said to Moses, "Assemble from me 70 of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be elders and authorities among the people, and bring them to the tent of meeting. When they are in place beside you, I will come down and speak with you there. I will also take some of the Spirit that is on you, and will confer it on them, that they may share the burden of the people with you. You will then not have to bear it by yourself. To the people, however, you shall say, 'Sanctify yourselves for tomorrow, when you shall have meat to eat.' For in the hearing of the Lord you have cried, 'If only we had meat for food. Oh, how well off we were in Egypt.' Therefore the Lord will give you meat to eat, and you will eat it, not for 1 day or 2 days or 5 or 10 or 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your very nostrils and becomes loathsome to you. For you have rejected the Lord who is in your midst, and in his presence you have cried, 'Why did we ever leave Egypt?' But Moses said, 'The people around me include 600,000 soldiers. Yet you say, I will give them meat to eat for a whole month. Can enough sheep and cattle be slaughtered for them? If all the fish of the sea were caught for them, would they have enough?' The Lord answered Moses, 'Is this beyond the Lord's reach? You shall see now whether or not what I have said to you takes place.' The Spirit on the elders. So Moses went out and told the people what the Lord had said. Gathering 70 elders of the people, he had them stand around the tent. The Lord then came down in the cloud and spoke to him. Taking some of the Spirit that was on Moses, he bestowed it on the 70 elders. And as the Spirit came to rest on them, they prophesied, but did not continue. Now 2 men, one named Eldad and the other Medad, had remained in the camp. Yet the Spirit came to rest on them also. They too had been on the list, but had not gone out to the tent, and so they prophesied in the camp. So when a young man ran and reported to Moses, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp, Joshua son of Nun, who from his youth had been Moses' aide, said, 'My Lord, Moses, stop them.' But Moses answered him, 'Are you jealous for my sake? If only all the people of the Lord were prophets. If only all of the people of the Lord were prophets. If only the Lord would bestow his Spirit upon them.' Then Moses retired to the camp along with the elders of Israel. The quail. There arose a wind from the Lord that drove in quail from the sea and left them all around the campsite, to a distance of a day's journey, and at a depth of 2 cubits upon the ground. So all that day, all night, and all the next day, the people set about to gather in the quail. Even the one who got the least gathered 10 homers of them. Then they spread them out all around the camp. But while the meat was still between their teeth before it could be chewed, The Lord's wrath flared up against the people, and the Lord struck them with a very great plague. So that place was named Kibroth Hattaavah, because it was there that the greedy people were buried. From Kibroth Hattaavah, the people set out for Hazeroth, where they stayed. Numbers chapter 12, jealousy of Aaron and Miriam. Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses on the pretext of the Cushite woman he had married, for he had in fact married a Cushite woman. They complained, "Is it through Moses alone that the Lord has spoken? Has he not spoken through us also?" And the Lord heard this. Now the man Moses was very humble, more than anyone else on earth. So at once the Lord said to Moses and Aaron and Miriam, "Come out, you three, to the tent of meeting." And the three of them went. Then the Lord came down in a column of cloud, and standing at the entrance of the tent called Aaron and Miriam. When both came forward, the Lord said, "Now listen to my words. If there are prophets among you, in visions I reveal myself to them, in dreams I speak to them. Not so with my servant Moses. Throughout my house he is worthy of trust. Face to face I speak to him, plainly and not in riddles. The likeness of the Lord he beholds. Why then do you not fear to speak against my servant Moses?" So the Lord's wrath flared against them, and he departed. Miriam's punishment. Now the cloud withdrew from the tent, and there was Miriam stricken with a scaly infection, white as snow. When Aaron turned toward Miriam and saw her stricken with snow-white scales, he said to Moses, "Ah, my Lord, please do not charge us with the sin that we have foolishly committed. Do not let her be like the stillborn baby that comes forth from its mother's womb with its flesh half consumed." Then Moses cried to the Lord, "Please not this, please heal her." But the Lord answered Moses, "Suppose her father had spit in her face. Would she not bear her shame for 7 days? Let her be confined outside the camp for 7 days. Afterwards she may be brought back." So Miriam was confined outside the camp for 7 days, and the people did not start out again until she was brought back. After that, the people set out from Hazeroth and encamped in the wilderness of Paran. God bless you.